Today we're talking about a topic that for you first-time home buyers or future home buyers, you kind of need to pay attention to. It's 12 red flags on the inspection report during the purchase process of any transaction in real estate. Water damage and mold. This kind of goes in with the roof issues. If you have any structural issues with the roof or structural issues with the home itself, it can cause roof gaps. Plumbing issues. All of these things can cause water damage, and if you don't pay attention to a water stain or something like that, even so, if you have your inspector brings it up that you have a water spot in your ceiling and it's fairly new, you may not think too much of it because it's not very large, and then now you find yourself in a situation where over time you don't think about that small spot. It gets bigger and it grows into black mold or things like that, and you have a large issue on your hand, because once you get in a situation like that, we're talking another thing that can cost you $5,000-$10,000 to get eradicated.
Yeah, mold is a racket. Okay, if you have mold and you call a mold restoration company in and they go through the whole air testing and tenting and all of that, you are going to pay big time for that. Okay. Yeah. And it's far better to cut mold off before it can grow. Right. Mold grows when there's a water source. So if you encounter mold, you need to be immediately thinking, what's the water source for this mold to grow? And your first focus has to be to end that, cut that water source off. And then once you do, that mold will no longer continue to grow. It'll stay there and you got to deal with it, but et cetera, right? I just want to say one thing to the audience, and this is going to be a little bit off the path that we're on at the moment, and that is an inspection. Don't ever, please listen to me in this, and I think you're 100% with me on this. Don't ever buy a home without doing an inspection.
Absolutely not.
It'll be the dumbest $400 you ever saved in your life, and I want to give you a perfect example, and it's a personal example, okay? I bought a home, and I'm in real estate, so I have a pretty good idea what to look for. And I decided, and this was pretty early in my real estate career, and I decided I wanted to save $400. I can see what's wrong and not wrong with the house, and I'm just going to not do the inspection. Right. And my broker, when I tell him this, he looks me dead in the eye and he says, "The hell you're not doing an inspection. You're going to do an inspection, and if you're too cheap to spend $400, I'll give you the $400. You're going to do the inspection." So we do the inspection. Lo and behold, when the inspector gets in the attic and he lifts the insulation, he finds a 12-foot swath of mold in my attic. Okay. Now the water source had been cut off. It was from an earlier HVAC leak, and they had not dried it after they had fixed the leak in the attic, right? It was a $15,000 repair to remediate fully the mold.
To save $400.
That I was able to turn right around to the seller and say, "We have mold, you need to solve this." Whereas if I had closed, it would have been my issue, because you can't live in the home if you've got that much mold. Right. At some point, it's going to have an issue with your lungs, right? So I've lived through an example, and I just want to implore upon all viewers here, do your inspection, because it literally could save you a nightmare.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost that much. I mean, even if you go through and you do the entirety of all of your inspections, like you just go tip to tail on your inspections. This is your dream home, and you absolutely need to have it. Spending those extra few hundred, maybe even $1,000, really is going to help you stay on track with keeping that home and having the money in your pocket, because that's a perfect example. I mean, you save $400 and you lose 15 grand.
Another great reason to do a home inspection is, once the home inspection's done and you get the report, you now have a to-do list of all the things you really need to focus on your home. So if you've got $5 grand to spend and you're thinking you want to put a tree fort in the backyard for your kids to play in, but you know in that home inspection report that one of the items that didn't get addressed is, and you've got insulation missing in the attic, right? And so you can spend $5 grand and put new insulation in the home, or spend $5 grand on the backyard.
Right.
The insulation is going to save you a ton of money in utility bills. It's probably the better spend. Right. So I kind of like inspections as a map of the things I need to address in my home after closing escrow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful
way. It's a little thing that I've just discovered that is kind of a roadmap of things I need to do.
I definitely do the exact same thing.